What's up, Blizzard Nation? Welcome back to Strictly Blizzness, episode 77. Bought a jersey just for this. Did not. We had that one.
Someone had to go into their jersey closet for that.
True.
True story.
His name was Drew.
We're on a rhyming episode. Yep. His name is Drew. He's got how many hundreds? It's well over 100 jerseys.
That's a lot. That's a problem.
Of many different types of sports as well. It's not just football. It's not just soccer. It's hockey.
Lacrosse. Do you have a lacrosse jersey?
Do you have a lacrosse jersey?
One of three. I have no soccer nor lacrosse.
Good.
Okay.
We're playing the
we
odds
just have
here.
hockey and soccer. We have hockey and
it's a
football.
combination.
Yeah.
Yep.
So awesome.
Soccer on ice, hocker.
Okay.
Good start to the episode.
Yeah, this is all about football.
Yes. Should we dive in?
Oh, let's dive in. So
we
it's
have a
been
schedule.
Well, it's been about a month since we met, right?
Yeah.
Almost exactly a month.
I think bi-weekly now, so not a month. But
no, but for us and this episode airing, it's almost a month since the last one aired.
Yeah, just about.
We're going to start doing bi-weekly until the season, but I think we skipped one of our bi-weeklies in there.
I think so.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay, Ryan. I understand.
I just show up when you tell me to.
That's true. So you're right. Lots of stuff has happened since we last met. We have a schedule.
Yes.
And we're going to show said schedule. People have already seen said schedule. People have already complained about said schedule.
Right.
Which it happens, but we'll talk about that. So when do we start? What's the first game?
March 19th.
March 19th.
Yep.
So that's a Sunday.
Yes.
We always like kicking off on a Sunday.
We always have to kick it off on a Sunday, but yes, too.
Well, because of what's available.
Yeah.
But I like Sundays because then it feels like you have some time when you go home after the game.
Yep.
It's not 11 o'clock or midnight.
True.
You can appreciate that.
Yeah, I do.
Granted, you have to start much earlier.
Yeah.
On that day.
And that one's turning out even earlier based on when the field can't go down. So that'll be as soon as the field is down, we will be there, whether that's 3 a.m., 4 a.m. So when you come in on Sunday the 19th,
and Ryan looks a little, he's not drunk. He's just super tired.
Right.
Let's talk about that a little bit. So maybe people don't realize how much goes into setting up for a football game. In our arena, as most of you know, and in a lot of the arenas that the indoor game plays in, especially in that February, March timeframe, we're not playing in February anymore like we used to when we first started our ownership of the team. We are putting these fields down over ice, literally over ice. And that takes time.
Yeah.
And because of all of the events going on in our arena, there's actually something happening in there Saturday night. Mm-hmm. So they have to get out whatever that is, whether it's a hockey game, a concert. I don't think we'd share that here, but whatever it is, lights have to be changed. The arrangement of the floor has to change. If it was a concert, they had chairs down. They got to put the sides up for the, our arena look. So there's just so many things that go into setting up for one of our games. And that usually happens literally overnight. You guys come in the morning, you're putting on, are you doing dasher boards?
This year it'll be the turf decals will have to go on. And probably some time on the dasher boards because the dasher topper will change this year. Thanks to our friends at Aaron's. So
seriously, Freeze Field is changing?
The whole ring on top will have the Aaron's logo as well.
Is it a ring of fire?
Well, they sell snow blowers. Snow throwers. Sorry, Aaron's. It's actually the technical term is a snow throw from Aaron's. I didn't know that until I've been scolded by marketing multiple times.
Are we going to throw snow?
Yes.
Excellent. Oh, that'd actually be a
so
good
not only so in November the turf will lay down in the expo for 3 days, and that's the last time we'll see it before the home opener. Actually, there's no chance of it even sitting in the expo center. So we will pull all the old decals off. We'll have to put the new ones on. To your point, that morning, and then 66 dasher board tops. In theory, our friends at Wondersign may help out when we pull the boards that have to change and may put some on for us there, but it's going to be a doozy. Yep.
So if you're looking for something to do before the game that morning, Yeah, you could be a part of setting up the season, literally.
Yeah.
So it takes, we don't have very many arenas that just have the field set up for the season and nothing else in their venue that happens. I don't know of any. Now, Tulsa, that may be different because they do their hockey so they might be able to keep it that way. But I even think for them, I would think the venue has other events that come in there. So
yeah, and if the Tulsa, if that hockey follows the same seasonality of the Gamblers, they'll be playing. So
right. And I don't know how many of you have walked on an indoor field after the game. So our fifth quarter, as most of you know, you can come onto the field at the beginning of the season. It's like, and as you're walking, you see people tripping all the time because it literally has waves to it.
Yep.
From being rolled up. Now, there are different things out there, and we saw it at the league meetings of new types of squares that you can put together, but they just aren't as thick. It's a different type of feel than what we have. And, right now our field works great when it's flat.
Yeah.
So kind of go from there.
Yes.
So that's game one.
Yeah.
Game one, we've already announced when the championship game is. It's in August. We'll talk more about the actual schedule on our next episode, I think, because then we'll talk about theme nights.
We're close. We can probably release the theme nights just without some of the who and other details. So
yeah.
Okay.
And then ball art and all of that kind of stuff we still have yet to share with you guys. But this episode, we want to talk about a couple of things that happened since the last episode. Thank you all for watching the show. I didn't realize how much of a following we had until I got my Kathy at the Indoor Football League on the forum talking about my XFL news, which then I got in trouble for. So thank you all for doing that. When I had mentioned it and said we were working with them, there were people that just took that as this is what she means and she announced and blah, blah, blah. Not that it was a secret, but, we didn't have all the details worked out. Thankfully, it didn't ruin anything.
Sure.
I'm still hoping to meet The Rock at some event, especially now that Black Adam is out. For sure, I want to meet The Rock, but that's big news. And how that works, and if you're following the IFL, then you saw our post about how it's going to work, what the premise is behind it. But it's basically a way for us to keep the rights of our player. We are the only league that the XFL is going to let those players go back to, if you will, when they're done playing the XFL season. So they can come back. I believe it's in May. They would come back to us. If they were on our roster, went to play for the XFL, they can come back. Some of you may say, well, they're going to make more money in the XFL. As of right now, yes, they would. But if they want to continue to play, as most of these guys do play for film, this is a way to continue their momentum through the rest of the season to get prepped, some sort of reel for the NFL.
Yeah.
That's the whole idea. That's why the XFL is there. That's why we're here. We're a developmental league that is developing players to go on.
Yeah.
That's why we say your life here should only be 3, at the most 5 years. You're a vet after 3. And by then you either move up or you're done playing football.
Yeah.
It should work that way.
Yeah.
There's just so much talent that comes out of school every year.
Yeah. Whatever we can do to help the players is awesome. So I think it's a great partnership.
Correct.
So
yeah.
Do you want to talk about the players?
Let's talk about the players.
Read that message.
Well, before we get into some of the comments that we had on the last episode and since, I want to talk about a couple of things that is our belief here in Green Bay, Larry and I as owners, that we then give to our players, our coaches, and has been for the 10 years, the decade now that we're doing this. If a player does not want to stay in Green Bay, We are not going to hold on to their rights, make them stay, all of those things. There's the RTR of a player where they refuse to report. There's many different things behind the scenes that you may or may not be aware of. At the end of the day, I personally, Larry personally, do not want people in Green Bay that don't want to be here. So if you don't want to be here, we're not going to make you stay.
Yep.
There are a lot of factors that go into that. Everybody assumes that it's because we don't cheat in Green Bay. We're not paying the players enough. So therefore, they just leave. And I'm going to give an example of Mamadou. Mamadou is a great defensive player. Was wonderful to be here as a player. Embraced the community. Great stuff. Just great stuff all the way around.
Yep.
A lot of different teams wanted him. Absolutely, they wanted him. At the end of the day, our players have a commitment to football, but they have a heart for their families. And at the end of the day, Mamadou lives on the East Coast.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, all you conspiracy theorists that Massachusetts paid him more to leave, how could we not match what they offered? It wasn't about that. He's 20 minutes from home, people. So he can sleep in his own bed, drive to practice and drive back home, have his normal life pre-football, as much as he could pre-football, still develop his career in film, but still live close to home. So sometimes that's a deciding factor. But I want to talk a little bit about pay.
Sure.
And, how come you guys don't pay him more? We have been of the mindset, we have a rule book. Now, if we're the only team that follows the rules, well, then so be it. We have a rule book. Those rules are in place for a reason. When we came into this league, just as a for instance, the idea was that the IFL was stronger than the AFL because, and for one reason only, we had a model that could sustain itself. The AFL went under, not once, but twice. Talking about a resurgence of it again, it'll probably be 3 times because their model could not be sustained. So when we came into the league, we were told, and we found out really, really quick that it was a fallacy, that the model was that you had a $400,000 budget. Laugh. Go ahead, laugh.
Ha
You can't do a team like this on a $400,000 budget. So it quickly became an $800,000 budget. And as you know, in that, when we're talking budgeting, one of our biggest expenses for the year is what?
Housing.
For
300, Alex.
Yeah, housing is very expensive, and we're not going to get into what the dollars and cents are of that, but that is by far the largest expense that we have. And with the IFL, part of our model is trading. Now, there are some teams that trade almost everything, and there are others that don't do any trading. Mm-hmm. They're paying out
the wazoo.
Yeah. Is that a technical term?
Yep.
So, for instance, what is trade? So, for instance, Ryan would set something up with a food vendor, for instance, and kind of give how you do trade with food. How does that work?
Yeah, so we would trade a dasher board or a ticket package in exchange for the equivalent of either meal vouchers or team meals. So we may, for 16 weeks, go eat at a certain time of day of week that fits with practice, and that's how that meal partner supports us. Or the guys may get a voucher equal to the amount of a dasher board and ticket package that they can go eat when they choose. So
that's considered a trade.
Yep.
That vendor may not have given us any cash. We have to put it on our books as a cash equivalent because there's value to what they gave to us.
Right.
They, in turn, are putting it on theirs as a valid expense because there's food involved. Yep. But it's considered a trade. So those trades happen all the time within our industry. But what I'm getting at is, from a budget standpoint, how much we trade, that mix of trade was always up to the teams themselves. We do have teams within the IFL that operate on a $1 million budget, $2 million budget, $4 million budget, $6 million budget. So that has, over time, as new teams have come in, has fluctuated. At the end of the day, though, there is a manual that we follow. It's our operations manual that clearly outlines, and this is one of the reasons why we've been able to sustain as a league, is that our player pay has a cap to it. Now, we are allowed to fluctuate who we pay what. We in Green Bay decided, because they're a team, we're going to pay them all the same for each game. We do have those people out there that pay under the table. They pay over the table. They just do this with their players to attract them. 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4. They're being promised a lot of things. And they've gotten creative over time, to be honest with you. The players as well as their agents, because a lot of times it's the agent that's calling our coaches and saying, hey, so-and-so is offering them X. If you won't match that, they're not coming to you. There should be none of that talk happening, but it happens all the time. When I say they've gotten creative, is instead of getting a text, which then can be used against the team, the coaches are getting phone calls, and then there's nothing that can be recorded, that cheating is happening. So there's a lot of different ways to cheat in our league. We're just not going to do it. So at the end of the day, our players get paid an amount. We feel that once you come to Green Bay, you're going to love it in Green Bay. We take very good care of our players. Our players that have come here and then go somewhere else for more money have come back. And they come back for what reasons, Ryan? Why do they come back?
Food plans, housing, team entertainment, people in the stands. So
lots of different
paid
reasons.
A lot, but you play in front of 600, it doesn't feel outstanding. So.
Right. Not to mention they can be overpromised and underdelivered. So we've had guys that have gone to other teams and they've sat on the bench and therefore didn't get the extra money and kept waiting their turn, and lasted an entire season. We have a coach by that name where he didn't play because he sat on a bench, but thought he was getting an opportunity. So at the end of the day, what I'm getting at, and this isn't a rant or a negative on the IFL, is there are a lot of things that happen behind the scenes from a player personnel perspective that you guys are not aware of. So I'm kind of giving you some behind the scenes as to what happens prior to the seasons on some of these trades that happens. Sometimes it has nothing to do with whether or not they performed on the field. Sometimes it has to do with, yes, they might be getting more money. Sometimes it has to do with the fact that they're going to be closer to their family. They're going to be closer to home. And home is important to these guys. They go through a lot during the season. To be away from your family for 16 weeks, 4 months, 6 months, in some cases, that's tough. And if they live across the coast, getting home, flying home over a bye week, when we only give them three, maybe 4 days to do that, it's tough.
Yep.
It's tough. So we wish Mamadou the best of luck. As you saw on the schedule, we'll be playing him twice, I believe, right?
I'm playing May 5th, which is an interesting day to be playing him when you come find out on game night time.
What it is that we're doing.
Yep.
So we could have another jersey on.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah.
But it's, I just wanted to share how some of those trades happen. And there's sometimes where we do have some control. There's other times where we don't have control. And we are not going to force a player to stay in Green Bay if they don't want to be here. So
yeah, I don't really need to read any of that message. I think one of the questions is, why don't we match the offer? Because there should be no matching of offers if things are done above the table. Now, when it comes to players securing individual sponsorships and getting involved in different conversation, different day. But
yeah. And so let's talk about sponsorship for just a little bit. So there are ways within the league, and I'll tell you how it started, and then I'll tell you how it went south. So it started as sponsors could have a player, much along the lines of what we're calling name, image, likeness now in college sports. If they had a particular player that they liked how they looked on the field, or they were a vet, whatever the case is, and this was very prevalent in Nebraska when we first came in, we would see guys with multiple patches. Yep. And we'd ask Charlie, what's up with the patches on that guy? Yeah. Well, he's sponsored by those various businesses, which comes with, yes, they get some sort of pay above and beyond. But they're working for that in some way, shape, or form. They're
Right.
going out to events for that sponsor. They're doing TV commercials. They're doing something for that sponsorship. And then a patch would be on their jersey.
Yep.
So they were representation on the field and off the field for that particular sponsor. As time went on, patches went on with the players not having to do anything. And then pretty soon patches went away and people were just taking money under the table. So there's a lot of different ways for us to get the players to that next level of not just playing, but also paying to get them to do things. So if any of you want to sponsor a player, call Ryan.
At 920-499-BLIZZ.
And, we have, and it's not like, send thousands. When we talk about a player being sponsored, what we're talking about is they have to be good representation for the Blizzard, because we don't want to have them go out, represent our brand with another group's brand, only to find out that their social media presence is horrible.
Yeah.
Their language skills are just as bad, or whatever the case might be. And I'm not saying that that's everybody, that we have had instances where, they might not be the best representation out in the community, but we've had others that have been stellar.
Absolutely.
And whatever we can do to help a player become more comfortable with staying in Green Bay, or has those needs that require more money, we're not going to pay under the table. We're just not going to do it. So we're, as you said, we're not going to match an offer from another team. Sometimes we don't know what it is that they're getting under the table. Quite honestly, I don't want to know what they're getting under the table, but I can tell you, if I know they didn't sign here and they asked us for more money, I have it on pretty good authority that they're getting said more money at the other team. So if you watch where they're going, and I think that was the point of that question, is, well, obviously they're getting more money. Maybe he is, but the driving factor was family for Mamadou. What else you got?
That was the meat and potatoes of it.
That was me talking a whole lot.
Yeah, it's all good. That was stuff you needed to cover.
Stuff I needed to get off my chest, because I just don't.
Yeah.
We've said right from the beginning, we're not going to cheat. We don't care if all of the other teams in the league are cheating. We're just not going to do it. And you may say, well, then you're not going to get any good players. And I say, okay. And you may say, well, then you're not going to get to the championship game. I feel it's more about coaching and coaching those players and making a cohesive unit than paying them under the table. So, but clearly I've been wrong, because we've been to the playoffs. We have not been to a championship game. So maybe this year's different.
True
story.
Drew story. When I say Big Park,
I say woof. It's a Drew story. Did you like that?
It's a Drew story. That was it. That was, the schedule is out. We will start unpacking theme nights. I did, when it comes to people asking about start times and days of the week and stuff, some of that will become more prevalent when the themes are there. Can't run a post-game concert at 9 p.m. So just the Saturday 3 p.m. will make sense when the theme night comes out. So yes, there's a matinee game on a Saturday, and that is for a very specific reason.
Correct.
So, yep.
Yeah, so it's not going to be the show up at 7 because you might have missed the entire game or the first half. So yes, pay attention, and we'll point that out on social media. But for those of you, when you may have seen the schedule, but you didn't notice the times.
Right.
One of the other things that I saw was, and I do want to address this as well. I have said this from when I was doing the schedule, helping Terry Carr with the schedule, to now transitioning Todd to doing the schedule. We understand there's times where we play the same team 4 times. The reason for that, and I went as far as to build an algorithm to try and avoid that, but unless every team has the same weekend dates available within the league, there is no way to shuffle stuff to make it work that we play everybody in our conference. because that's the most important. We've talked about conferences. We talked about conference play mattering. At the end of the day, when we build the schedule, the owners get asked every year, do you want to do it as financial over football or football over financial? And it's always been, until the schedule comes out, finance over football. Meaning, for us in the Midwest, we don't want to have 5 or 6 flights. It's $15,000 to $20,000 to fly a team somewhere if you get good pricing. So if you have to do that, and people, you can do the math. You know how much a ticket costs. Take that ticket, multiply it times the number of seats, or just times the amount of people we have per game. You will find out very quickly that our expenses we do not make our money on just ticket sales. There's more to it than that. So with that being said, when we get that pot together, financially is a very strong point. And so the schedule is put together on keeping as many busable trips available. So when Todd's weighing, do I send Iowa to Green Bay or do I send Iowa to San Diego? He's going to send Iowa to Green Bay. Now you may say, but Kathy, then if you guys have conferences, how is conference play then really a priority? And unfortunately, it doesn't become a priority until the playoffs. And then, and we can break this down in a later episode as to how tiebreakers work. We have followed the NFL tiebreaker rules. We did that last season. There were scenarios when it came down to the end that there was a potential that people that played head-to-head had the same record, but because of who they played in conference or strength of schedule, I can't remember which it was, it would have been that we would have had to tell fans, they played head-to-head, they lost, but they still went to the playoffs, and the winner of their head-to-head didn't. And sometimes that's a hard pill to swallow for a fan, but that all gets set up prior to that schedule coming out. It's something that we have to stick by as the season goes on. So yes, there are many teams we play multiple times, but that is, again, until every single team in the league has all the same dates available for every single weekend, that's what you're going to see.
True.
And unfortunately, with our venues, we don't get 16 game dates. We get, some people
10.
get 8 to 10. Some people just get the 7 if they're doing 7 home games. So really, until those arenas can give us a date for every single weekend during the run of our season, you're going to see what you saw on this year's schedule. So that's what I have. That's why the schedule looks the way that it does. It's the best that we can do based on availability of dates. I don't know how many more times I need to say that. That's what it's based on, is availability of dates.
Comprende.
I hope so. Clearly not. Anyway, do we answer all of the questions?
We did.
Okay.
It's a heavy episode.
Okay, what else?
That's what I got.
That's it?
Yeah, that's a lot of content today.
Is it?
That's why we do this, though.
Well, we skipped, like I said, we skipped a couple weeks here, so we had to do
There's a lot to cover in that couple weeks.
Yeah, good stuff. All right.
Should we hit them with it?
Already? We're not even going to go into
what else we have?
Well, there's movies that are abound. We got Halloween coming up.
Haven't seen any of them, but yes.
Maybe the next episode we'll talk about that.
We'll have plenty to recap. So.
Go to a movie, people. Go to a movie.
Catch a movie. Go support Marcus Theaters.
Yeah, there's some good ones out right now. There's a bunch of Halloween stuff out, which I'm not
my jam.
Not a horror person. Although Jamie Lee Curtis on the screen again, I don't know.
In Halloween again?
Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently Michael Myers never dies, so that's a thing.
Well, apparently he does now.
This might be it.
And she's got to die with him, apparently. Cool. That's what I saw in the prequel, so I'm just saying.
About time.
Anyway. All right.
Lots more to come.
Yeah, lots more to come.
Keep the questions coming. We appreciate it.
Yeah, please do. Please do.
That's why we do this, to answer those. So promo schedule coming, Black Friday, Christmas specials all coming. Season ticket renewals are underway. New season ticket stuff coming. A lot of fun.
That's a lot.
It is. The next episode will be a lot. Yes.
Because we need this.
New swag coming. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome.
Good times, great oldies.
You need a new hat.
I like this one, but you're probably correct.
I mean, it's got some serious wear and tear.
It's got some wear and tear. Yeah. It's weathered.
Is that from the
season 1 or 2?
Yeah, it's
my time here.
It's not even the right green anymore.
Nope, it's not. It's faded. It's like when people buy pre-tore jeans. Yes. It wasn't pre-faded though. It just faded on its own.
Yeah. You left it out in the sun too.
There's plenty I could have purchased over the years. Just
Well, it's comfortable now, right? It's got a little
bit
really
of comfortable.
Little tatter on the bill, so that makes it worn.
But it's time. Yeah, it's time.
Yeah. Awesome.
Should we hit him with it?
Let's hit him
with it. Go Blizz. Don't forget to like, follow,
subscribe,
share,
and ring that notification bell to get all of our content in your inbox.